Okay, I think I know what happened here. Shyamalan finally got around to watching Dexter and thought to himself, yeah, protagonist, who's also a serial killer and has to hide in plain sight? I could make a great movie out of a premise like that. But then he made Trap instead. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to an all new horror movie review right here on Casters of Horror. I'm Shane, and this week I'll be talking about Trap, the most recent M. Night Shyamalan film. Now, I'll be honest, I really haven't kept up with Shyamalan's work. Obviously, I enjoyed some of the early stuff he did, and then I just kind of fell off, and I couldn't even tell you what all his movies are or what he's done recently. I just know that this one was getting a lot of press, and so we decided to go ahead and cover it on the show. Trap stars Josh Hartnett leads the cast here, and he's playing sort of middle-aged dad Cooper. Right now, I'll be honest. I honestly thought that Josh Hartnett left acting for like a decade or something, and that this was kind of his big comeback or something. I don't know why I thought that. Apparently, he did take a year or so off, but that was a while ago. So I don't know. Okay, whatever. Welcome back to the place you never really left, Josh, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, Hartnett plays, like I said, he plays Cooper, and he is dad to Riley, played by Ariel Donahue. And Riley and Dad have scored some pretty good tickets to her favorite pop star, Lady Raven, played by Salika Shyamalan. Right? So they are attending this concert, and the the setup for this happens pretty quickly. I think it was pretty much given away in all the trailers, all the marketing, and all that. But pretty early on in the film, you find out that Cooper isn't just an average middle aged dad, he's actually a deranged serial killer, right? And he begins to notice a sort of heightened police presence at this concert while it's going on. And through talking to various people who have, pretty loose lips, he ends up finding out that the police know that he is there. Now, they don't know who he is exactly, they just know that the butcher, they call him, is going to be at this concert. And so they are basically setting a trap to try to get him as he, before he can escape, whatever. And so the police presence is being led by this profile, Dr. Grant, played by Haley Mills. And it's kind of goes into this thing as it progresses, as Cooper begins to learn more and more about what they're doing there. He finds various ways to kind of keep tabs on what the police are doing, and while simultaneously trying to find ways to get out of there without being noticed, because the police have basically surrounded the building and all exits blocked, and so this Dr. Grant is like I said, she's a profiler, and she's kind of like one step ahead of him at all times, and he ends up finding a way basically to be able to listen in to what she's saying, and he almost steps right into one of her traps, right? So it just becomes this thing where he's trying to find a way to escape, and he keeps escalating the things he's doing to try to escape, and she's always one step ahead. And eventually, this little cat and mouse game, as you might imagine, culminates in a big showdown between Cooper and Lady Raven, the pop star. So, yeah, I, I wish that was a joke, but it isn't. Anyway, you know what? That's pretty much all I can say about the plot without getting too spoilery. But it is. That's the basic premise of what's going on. Talk a bit about the positives of this movie, because despite what you might have heard, from pretty much every other reviewer out there, there are some things to praise this movie for. Probably the biggest one, I would say, is actually Josh Hartnett's performance. Um, Josh Hartnett, I remember seeing him, back when he was a rising teen star, and he was in kind of, all the up and coming teen flicks, back in the 90s. But like I said, I didn't even realize that he was still acting, to be honest. Sorry, Josh. But so I see this performance here, and I'm like, wow, this, I think he's actually really, really grown as an actor. I would argue that he almost single handedly carries this movie, right? Because even in its more bonkers times, where there's just the plot, it gets ridiculous, he actually sells it really well. There are particularly some scenes where when two characters are conversing with each other, Shyamalan does this thing where instead of them both being on screen or and talking to each other, or even kind of having a sort of side profile view or whatever, he actually does this thing where they are talking to each other, but they're talking directly at the camera, right? Kind of like I'm doing right now. For everybody else who does this, it is ridiculous. It's so stupid and bad, right? But when Josh Hartnett does it, it's actually really, really good. He's got this sort of aura of, yeah, he's got this like friendly middle-aged dad, but he's forcing the friendliness to a creepy degree, and it's almost like in his eyes you can see just this deranged killer, and to where there were several points in the movie where I honestly kept wondering if he was going to snap eventually. Very, very well done on Hartnett's part. And another thing I'll say about this movie is about in the second act, there actually came a point where I actually kind of started getting invested, right? Like, I wanted to know how this was going to play out. I'm not saying it was great, but it was enough that, like, yeah, and maybe it goes back to Hartnett's performance. I don't know. It was enough that, like, okay, there are aspects of this that are actually kind of interesting, and I'm interested in seeing where it's going. Unfortunately, those are really the only two positives I can give this movie. So moving on to the things I didn't like. Uh, you know, Chris and I have both said throughout the past 2 years, coming up on 2 years doing this, that we've watched movies where we've either gone into the theater and the movie's playing and we're checking our watches, and just know the runtime and be like, oh, there's 20 minutes left, or if it's something that we're able to catch on streaming, we're going down there hitting the little pause or whatever and seeing how much movie we got, like, half an hour left. How is there still half an hour left in this movie? I did that here for this film. It is the first time that I've ever done it and clocked in there was over an hour left. I could not believe it. And I think that might be one of the big problems with this movie is I do think it plays its hand too early, right? And to the point where I honestly thought, and again, I always feel like it's a spoiler, even when trying to talk about a Shyamalan film, to say that, as far as I'm concerned, there's really no like big twist. There's no big Shyamalan twist in this film. If anything, the twist is right at the beginning when you find out that Cooper is this serial killer called the Butcher. Um, Again, yeah, didn't steal any ideas from Dexter or anything. But anyway, um, so yeah, I feel like maybe it just plays its hand a little too early. But the other thing is, now I've got to complain about something and then defend it in a weird way. The plot for this movie is really, really stupid, right? And I knew that going in. About 15 or so minutes in, when you actually hear somebody say the plot out loud, that this whole concert is a trap, right? When you actually hear someone say it out loud, it somehow sounds even stupider. It's just like, I cannot believe this. The whole idea that there's going to be this huge police presence to trap a notorious serial killer at a venue with tens of thousands of people. I just I can't I can't even believe it's a thing that I have to say out loud. Now, that said, it really irritates me that I have to defend the movie in this way, but I kept seeing a bunch of takes online about how the entire concert was a setup. Right? They put on this concert specifically to trap the Butcher. That's not quite accurate. Late in the movie, there is an explanation that basically the police were alerted that the Butcher might be at this concert, right? So the concert was happening, yes, and yeah, they get pretty much everyone involved in the concert gets involved in the plot, but it's not like this whole concert was put on just to be a trap, okay? So yeah, that might be a mild plot, difference there, but still, I guess I've at least got to give it that. Um, the other thing, or another thing with this movie is the a lot of the performances really aren't great. The writing is just so ridiculously bad to the point where I almost wonder if it's intentional, right? Because when you look at just the steps that Cooper is able to make, um, it's almost like he only gets as far as he does because everybody else in this movie, save the profiler, everybody else in this movie is a total idiot who breaks rules, and just is too loose-lipped and just really doesn't think things through, right? Okay, so that's the only reason that he's able to get as far as he is. And ultimately, I think when it comes to the end, this movie was marketed as just being this big concert. Um, Maybe even only half the movie takes place actually at the concert, and we eventually do leave. Mild spoilers there, sorry. But we do get out of there, and we kind of get more tense situations, between a couple of the characters. But I don't know. I'm on the fence here because I can't decide if if the movie gets better once that happens, or if it kind of just like it has this premise of a character trying to get out of this concert, and as stupid as the premise is, I'm kind of thinking maybe they should have stuck with it. You know, I don't know. I feel like a lot of things by the end it just kind of unravels. There are a lot of like plot contrivances that just you see them coming from a mile away, right? And again, it requires a lot of luck on the protagonist part, and a lot of just mind-boggling stupidity on the part of the rest of the characters. So I don't know. This one, it's weird because while it was largely a slog to get through, there are also aspects of it that I thought were fine, right? So again, if I have to really praise anything, I think the number one thing would be Josh Hartnett's performance is stellar in this, despite everything that he's surrounded by. But that's pretty much it, and I can't even say that it elevates this movie enough to be something that you have to go watch just to see his performance. I mean, if you want a plot line that at least obviously has some similarities to this, go read or watch, the first few seasons of Dexter, which is, basically a serial killer that has to hide in plain sight and is constantly playing these cat and mouse games with the police. So, I don't know. As a movie, this did not work well for me. I do not recommend it, and I have absolutely no interest in watching it again. It was hard enough to get through the first time, and I don't know. What's the next milestone? I have to check my watch and find I still have 2 hours left. I don't know. We'll find out. What about you guys? Did you like Trap? Am I just wrong about this one? Is everybody wrong about this one? I don't know. Let me know what you think. Drop down there in the comments. Let me know if you liked the movie or not. And while you're down there, make sure to hit like and subscribe. We do these horror movie reviews every week, even if they are only tangentially horror or just horrifying to watch, apparently. I don't know how this movie got tagged as horror by anyone, but whatever. It is what it is. So thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time.